Do you think Carson Wentz is a lost cause at this point?
I don't believe he's a lost cause. I think he's lost for this season, but I'm not ready to call it a career for the guy. The guy's like 27, 28 years of age, and I think that he can be fixed, and I think that the damage that has been done is primarily on the coach, not Carson Wentz. That's where Max and I disagree. You don't play. What is your job as a coach? To figure out a way to get to him and coach him. That's your job. I understand that Carson Wentz has been absolutely awful. You complete 58% of your passes. You've got 16 touchdowns in the league, leading 15 interceptions on the season. And you know, you holding the ball in the pocket. You've been sacked about 46 times and all of this other stuff. Because you're holding the ball so damn much, he's been awful. His throws are off. We get it. I understand it. But how did this happen? Once upon a time, while playing for the same coach, Carson Wentz was approaching greatness. He was a top 2 candidate for league MVP. What the hell happened? And whatever it is that happened, how is that not on your watch as Coach Peterson? How? I don't understand how we could do that. We could look at Roseman, and we can say Howie Roseman should have got, the DK Metcalfs and the A.J. Browns of the world, got the brother some help. Deshaun Jackson was supposed to be there. He's been injury-prone since he's arrived there. We got all of that. Can't be helped. I got that. Nelson Aguilar is looking good in a Raiders uniform. Should have caught the winning touchdown against the Jets instead of Ruggs, by the way, because he was open, but Derek Carr overthrew him on the very, very play before that game-winning touchdown for the Raiders against the Jets. We understand what he was supposed to do. We expected more from Alshon Jeffrey. Zach Ertz has been hurt. Goddard's back. They should be running the football more. They should be utilizing their running game more. There's a lot of questions. And I'm saying, I got to look at the coach, too. I'm not absolving Carson Wentz by any stretch of the imagination. But I got to look at the coach. I got to look at him. What's your job?
Look, this is ridiculous. I can't believe, Stephen A., you have joined essentially the apologists. Look, you're clearly saying Wentz has regressed. I get that at this point. I get that. But it's ridiculous to blame this on anybody but Wentz. Look, Peterson's got to go. I made that clear. The play calls, he's got to go. Roseman's got to go. You're saving your second-round pick. You don't want to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, you're going to trade up for a better receiver, maybe a CD Lamb. No, you're using that to replace Wentz? Okay. Peterson, you don't want to use your running backs at all. You have the 4th best run blocking in the league on the line. You have a stud back and a nice change of pace guy. You don't want to use him at all. But you know why he doesn't want to use him at all? The same coach who couldn't choose his own staff, the same coach whose quarterbacks got him shook because the quarterbacks got a direct line to the owner, it seems to me, Stephen A. And the reporting was a couple of years ago got the whole locker room shook because Wentz could get you out of there, right? How can you blame the coach and the GM who won a Super Bowl? Wentz was playing really well that year, so obviously it can work with that coach and GM, right? And by the way, they didn't win it with Wentz. Wentz helped them get in that position. It was Foles. It was Foles who brought the team alive the next year when they went to the playoffs. So you can't blame this. You can get rid of everyone. This is on Wentz. Stephen A., Wentz has regressed. His enablers, the guys who gave him affirmation in the press on the team, maybe the owner, that's the problem. He hasn't worked on the things. I was sounding the alarm after every win that people were lauding at the end of last year. I was sounding the Wentz alarm. This is why. He is unfixable. He will never be a great quarterback. You can't trade him. But this is what you can do. You can start Jalen Hurts for the rest of the season. Not because it gives you the best chance to win. Not because you're trying to teach Carson Wentz anything or hold him accountable. I said do that a month ago. That ship has sailed. Because you got to find out if Hurts can be your quarterback or if you have to draft a quarterback with your top 5 or 6
I want to chime in and ask you a question. Because I don't really care about all of those points that you made. I care about one thing you said and one thing only. You talked about Peterson not having the cachet or the latitude to pick his own coaching staff. Were you blaming him for the Eagles for that when he went 13-3 and won the damn Super Bowl?
Stephen, who did you win the Super Bowl?
In other words, it wasn't an issue then. Why is it an issue now?
Because now is when you need to hold Wentz accountable. Back then, you didn't have, not only was Wentz great on the money down, not only was Wentz the MVP of the season until then, under Peterson, right? Not only was that true, but you won the Super Bowl with a different dude. And that dude played lights out. And then the next year, you were under 500 when Wentz's injury took him out and Foles came in and the team was brought to life. Now you got to hold him accountable, and apparently you don't have the juice.
Well, he don't have to. Juice no more because he was backed into a corner and he had to make a choice. He had to make a decision, and the decision was the right one to start Jalen Hurts. To put Jalen Hurts in the game. And the right decision going forward this week, even though they're playing a team with a great defense in the Saints, is to start Jalen Hurts again. And you're right, it's not about teaching anybody a lesson. It's not about showing Carson Wentz the error of his ways. It's about Carson Wentz ain't playing good football. And the question was he done? He's done in Philadelphia as it is now. And here's the thing I had the most problem with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has done a very good job of this public facade or making us think a certain thing about him as far as a team guy. He's obviously a guy that loves the Lord. And so he says these things and he brings this to the forefront. And they talked about his accountability this week when he stood in front of the team and said, I have to play better. What I didn't hear in his post-game press conference was, Doug had to make this decision because I didn't play better. I was playing bad again today, so Doug had to do what was best for the team. We didn't get any of those things. We got, it's frustrating because, as a competitor and our team lost today, that's really what it came down to. No, you broke it, Carson Wentz. You weren't playing well. You couldn't make throws from clean pockets. You held the ball too long in the pocket and took sacks. That was you. And then when Jalen Hurts began to play, the team had energy. The team had juice. It seemed like when Nick Foles would start to play and the team would have energy and juice. And there were so many times I came on here and I fought Max Kellerman. I was like, Max Kellerman, that's stupid. Nobody goes out and plays harder because there's another quarterback in the game. Maybe they don't play harder because there's another quarterback in the game. But maybe they play harder because the other quarterback is no longer in the game. And the dude I saw in the post-game press conference that refused to take public accountability, that refused to say, you know what, it was my responsibility to fix Carson. I haven't fixed Carson all year, so Doug had to do what he had to do to try to fix the team. That dude ain't stand up. He blamed other people. He talked about communication. He talked about what he didn't know and how he felt, but never how he played. So Doug made the right decision. The right decision is to rock with Jalen Hurts the rest of the way out, and then you figure the rest of the offseason or the rest of next season out after this season is over. Because for now,
Ryan
should be over.
Ryan, listen, everybody, I was so far out ahead of this. I obviously was seeing things. I wasn't lucky that I guessed Carson Wentz was regressing. Just take my word for this one so everyone's not late on this next one, okay? Let me be very clear. They need to play Hurts. Not because he gives them the best chance to win, and not to hold Carson Wentz accountable. The time to hold Carson Wentz accountable, the last gasp, was a month ago when I told you that, right? Now you must play Hurts because you have to decide, is the second-round pick we spent on a quarterback, is that guy going to be our quarterback going forward? Because Wentz will not be, because he's not good, and you cannot trade his contract. Wentz is done as a starter for the next couple of years. Maybe someone will give him a chance eventually. He's not a starter anymore. Or do you have to draft a quarterback? They're going to have a high draft pick. That's what they need to figure out right now. Not tomorrow, not a week from now. Right now, you start playing your quarterback and you find out about him.
Max, first of all, let's understand something here. And it's very, very important that you grasp this reality. We don't have to worry about being wrong when we're on the air with you because all we have to do is say oops and move on like we never said anything. That's all we have to do.
Hey, say oops, get you out of it.
And
now.
Move on.
Oops, get you out of
and
it.
Move on. 5 seconds. God. Say oops. Nothing scary about that. So again, if we end up wrong, Ryan, oops.
So let me hear you do it.
To the Cowboys. Can we move on to Green Bay? Can we move on to Pittsburgh, Kansas City, whatever? Oops.
Fine. Let me hear you do it. Are you saying oops? Are you saying oops? That's fine. You can say oops. You saying oops on Wentz?
I don't recall saying that Wentz was playing good. All I said was that he's not the sole person to blame. I hold Peterson and Roseman accountable for that. You are the coach. Coach him. I don't believe that it's all the demise of Carson Wentz is about purely Carson Wentz. I don't believe it. Now, if he never had those skills, Max, you have a point. But to be here and to literally fall off the map in 2 years, I think coaching has something to do with that. That's all I'm saying.
No, Stephen A., he believed his press clippings, and the press clippings were incorrect. I tried to correct the record, but no one was trying to hear it back then. What is Peterson supposed
Max,
to do?
according to you, the press clippings were bad. The press clippings was bad more than a year ago. It's not just this year. No. Last year he was being criticized.
Right. The press clippings I was trying to give him, everyone else was telling me how great he was.
Thank God for Max Kellerman.
Here's the point. Here's the point. What was Peterson supposed to do when Carson Wentz would make bad decision after bad decision? You knew it would be a point of emphasis, and then on third down, he would put his eyes down, he'd take the sack, or he'd force the ball. What was he supposed to do?
Can someone actually answer the question you asked?
Go ahead.
Run the damn ball more.
Yeah.
Very simple.
I agree with that.
Run the ball more.
Stephen A., I think Peterson was scared to do it because he was trying to get Carson Wentz right. Because as you've pointed out, I think he thinks his job is dependent on getting Carson Wentz right.
Okay.
Yeah, but even with that, getting him right is about